You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shemaiah Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shemaiah Reed.
Welcome back to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and we have another show lined up for you all today. Today, we have a special guest. It's all about HR right now. We're have an honor talking to Kelly Price. She is the founder of Thrive HR and a leader whose entire career has been built around one mission, helping people and businesses thrive together. From her early days at Marriott International, where she learned how to have not just a powerful presence, but have great experience that can not just transform the office, but to put her in position to rise through the ranks, not just as a recruiter, but as a benefits manager, director of HR, and ultimately VP of HR. And you thought I got winded because she has a lot more on her resume. But I need to cut to the chase because 25 minutes is going to be over by the time I finish her resume. I just want to welcome you, Kelly Price, to the show and say thanks for letting me run out of breath because you have a lot going on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
And truly, I didn't do justice to all that you do because you have a lot that you do. And it's like great to know that that's why you're so successful because you're on it. You're in the game. You're locked in, like they would say nowadays. So let's start out with your personal journey. What attracted you to work at places like Marriott, and what were some of the things that you learned early on about HR and how impactful your position was to organizations like that?
Yeah, I enjoyed Marriott originally, honestly, because I like to travel and it sounded fun. My very early on, like high school early on, I thought I was going to be a psychiatrist. I went to college with the intention of being a psychiatrist and I got into the coursework. And to be honest, I just didn't enjoy it. It was really boring, in my opinion. And I had some friends that were in hospitality and they talked to me about it. So I switched my major and ended up doing 3 internships in the leadership program with Marriott. And I loved it. It was very people focused. It was very fast paced. I like thinking on my feet. I try to be witty and funny when I can and connect with people as much as I can. And, you asked what I learned, and probably one of the most valuable lessons I ever learned was very quickly at Marriott. People don't care why the problem happened. They just want it fixed. And they just want to feel validated that why they're upset is a reasonable reason to be upset. And, you can say the customer's always right. Everybody knows that's not actually true. But the customer's problem and feelings are valid is more what you should be teaching people. And then just fix it. They don't care what you have to do to fix it. Just fix it, make it better. So that's been something I've definitely taken through my entire career. And it served me well because people understand that, 1, I care what their problem is, and 2, I'm going to do everything I can to make it better because that's what I get paid to do.
Yeah, as a professional, having so much rich experience in this field, you also as a former VP of HR, what were some of the things you saw inside the organizations that most employees never get to see?
Oh my goodness. I think the challenge of being an executive, first of all, is it's interesting. When I left, I had a former employee tell me, I had no idea all the things you were shielding us from. The place where I was an executive was a fairly toxic work environment. I ultimately left because I was pregnant and I needed to get out of there so I could have a healthy pregnancy and be the mom that I wanted to be. And I couldn't have done that in that executive role. Not that it's not possible in any executive role, but that specific one wasn't going to be conducive to the life that I wanted to lead. So, people see executives and they think big paychecks. You think fancy cars and big paychecks and cool lives, and the amount of stress and difficult decisions that they have to make. It's a real thing. And I just was on a coaching call with a client 2 hours ago talking about in HR specifically, she was feeling very frustrated because her executive had told her, I don't really care unless it's revenue producing. And she felt very frustrated by that comment and very, very undervalued. And I said, listen, I hear you, because you're back here like a duck with your feet underwater, right? Trying to stay calm and cool. But the reality is that they shouldn't care about all the administrative things that you're doing, because if they did, they wouldn't be doing their job. What they care about is that stuff is taken care of. So you have to learn between the individual contributor, leadership role, even mid-level management through executives. When you're talking to people and, they talk about how to make friends and gain influence. I think that's the name of the book, something like that. What to talk to people about and when. Because if you were talking about, I just finished this big administrative project and audited our 9-9s, the CEO's like, I totally don't care about that at all. But if you say, I just found this new place to recruit from and every person there has exactly the experience we're looking for, and I can build an internship program that's going to game change our pipeline for sales candidates, then they get excited. So really understanding what's important to people and what you need to understand in role is just expected to get done is really critical in your success in each level. Everything is equally important. It's just where you need to focus and where you need to help influence yourself and others to understand what you're doing and doing well and adding value.
When you think about how much it takes to be consistent with not just helping the workplace transform with their culture, but to also reduce turnover, what are some of the strategies that you feel kind of align with core principles, if you will, as far as best practices?
Yeah, onboarding is one that I preach constantly. One of the things that I ask the leadership anytime I start a new engagement is, one, how do you make money and what are your growth goals? Because if I don't understand those two things, I can't possibly build a people strategy around them. And then I follow up with, do your employees all know how you make money? A lot of times that's a yes, because it's like a sales organization for widgets. That's pretty easy. Do they know what your growth goals are? Maybe, maybe not. And then do they know how every person in your organization, do they know how their role impacts the overall success of your organization? That one is most of the time no. Because you think about a manufacturing facility, does the shipping person truly understand how them getting that shipping address correct and making sure that the boxes are fully closed and just those seemingly minute details affect the overall success of the business? Because if they are loose, they're loose with how they ship it. They transpose a number. The customer doesn't get what they need. It impacts the business negatively, the overall reputation, the impression of whether or not they're going to refer, whether or not they're going to get continued business. And when I see people integrated into the business, what they're doing, why they're doing it, and how they overall impact the success of the business, they start to care from the very beginning. And you're showing the person not just sit down at your desk, here's your computer, you can have a lunch from 12 to 1, let me know if you need anything. It's, I care enough about you to tell you what this company's doing. I want you to be successful here, and I want you to understand how the business is going to grow so you can grow with it. People take a lot of pride in what they do. And especially these two most recent generations that are coming into the workforce, they have to feel like they're adding value and they have to feel like what they're doing matters. So if you set that up from day one and set some expectations, it makes such a huge difference. The other thing that I would say related to onboarding that's a game changer is talking to the employee about how you as a manager lead. For example, whenever I bring on a new client, I do this as well, but when I was in leadership and I brought on a new employee, I tell them for the first couple months, weeks, depending on how quickly you catch on, I'm going to be all up in your business. I'm going to ask you questions. I'm going to ask you what you're doing. I'm going to ask you how you're doing it. I'm asking why you're going to do it. I might ask you to let me watch you do it, especially if I'm in a new leadership position and I'm trying to learn from the people who work there. And I say, I believe that you were hired, or I know you were hired because you're capable, because I hired you. I just need to set you up for success. And I need to make sure that you understand what the expectations of this position are so that you can be successful. And I want to have this very open and trusting relationship where when I ask you what's going on, you don't assume it's because I think something's wrong. I just genuinely want to know what's going on, and I want to know how you're doing. So setting those expectations from the very beginning about what they're supposed to be doing in their job, the company that they work for, and who you are as a leader can completely change the employee's experience and whether or not they stay long term. Because if I never told them that I'm going to be all up in their stuff for the first month, they're going to think I'm the biggest micromanager they've ever met. But in reality, I just want to set them up so I can say, okay, you got this. Call me if you need me.
And that's a sign when you have a healthy organization, when you have leadership trusting the front line to deliver. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
the main point of being employed. You have to deliver, and it's not just the most small, minimal effort delivery. It's, wow, you hit a home run today, because that helps you when you have those days when things get slow or life gets real and everyone's kind of like at each other's throat. That's normal. But what's not normal is when it stays the same and becomes a toxic situation. So if you could, for our audience, touch on what happens when an organization gets to that toxic phase where people are not trusting each other to deliver.
Oh my gosh, people start working in silos. People stop communicating with each other. There's double work happening. Errors are happening. Turnover starts happening. Revenue goes down. Sales are selling things that you don't even produce or provide. It just becomes a disaster. And I've unfortunately seen it. And the best way to start identifying that that's happening is a couple of things. One, are errors that didn't used to happen starting to happen? Do you have one person in the department that seems to be causing a whole lot of issues? One bad seed will ruin the whole crop, right? You do have to think about that. Are you tolerating some things that you shouldn't be tolerating? Because going back to that one seed, maybe that person has a whole lot of life happening right now, and you're kind of letting them do whatever they want. Now there's flexibility and then there's taking advantage. So let's make sure that we're, towing the line there, because we always want to be flexible because we're humans, right? But people see what you allow other people to do. It's the same concept of people will treat you how you allow them to treat you. You have to understand what the guidelines are and stick with them so you can create an opportunity where there's trust. So if somebody says, I got to pick up my kid from school early, yeah, of course, go. You're fine. But it's, I'm going to come in when I want to and leave when I want to because, this person is going through something. Everybody else sees that. So I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here, and I apologize about that. But creating that consistency, and when you're starting to see inconsistencies and things like that happen, you're starting to create that toxic culture. When managers and leaders start to get frustrated and aren't able to then hold that up because it's getting so bad, then it starts rolling downhill. So if you're starting to see top performers reduce their production, not do as well as they used to, those are some key signs that there's something happening and I need to have some conversations. And if you have that trusting relationship, because you set it up from the beginning, and even if you didn't hire those people, but you're a new manager, you can still set expectations as a new manager. Or if you just decide to change and you have a meeting and say, hey, guess what? I realized I wasn't doing this right. And this is what we're doing going forward because I need to have a better department and I need to have a better relationships with all of you. People respect when you can admit that you've done something wrong or not been a perfect person, because literally who is? So watching those things and then naming them, calling them out, and taking action is critical. If you see them and you name them and then you don't do anything about it, you've pretty much should have never named it.
Once again, watching I Am Refocused Radio and listen to us, you can go to IamRefocusedRadio.com, catch up on the latest episodes. I mean, we're dropping them every single week, but today we're zoomed in and focused on our special guest for today. That's Kelly Price. Go to her website. It is thrivehrkc.com. Again, that's thrivehrkc.com. My next question is, we know everything now when it comes to toxic organizations and issues that can pile up, and sometimes we sweep it underneath the rug, and then we peek at it one day. It's like, whoa, where all this come from? But that's when you're not careful to addressing situations, preventing them from becoming nightmares. So my next question for you would be, when you think about HR supporting the business strategy, what does that look like in real life? Not just in the textbook terms, but in a out in the field mission type statement.
Yeah, I think that's such a great question and so important. I would ask if anybody who's doing your HR understands, again, the business. Do you understand how you make money? Do you understand what's important to the business? I just had a client last week that I was interviewing for an audit, and I said, I need to know, he's the CEO, and I said, I need to know what you care about and what you don't care about. And he was like, what do you mean? And I said, well, what's important to you for the business from the people standpoint, and what are the things that you genuinely think like that's a waste of time? Because I need to be able to know where to focus. And if he says, I don't care about compliance, like, too bad. I don't make those rules. This is the United States. We have to do things a certain way. But if it's, I don't care about giving pizza parties, or I don't care about where the poster goes in the office, those little manual silly things, it's like, okay, I know that those are the things, like I mentioned before, that just need to get taken care of. Because there are some CEOs that would answer and say, I really care about employee engagement, and I want to be involved in every employee engagement activity that we do. So I can't plan a pizza party for the office. I'm being very simplistic here, obviously, but I can't plan a pizza party for the office without talking to the CEO about it, because he or she wants to know what we're doing and when we're doing it so they can come and be a part of it. So that'd be number one. Get to know your leaders and make the effort to truly understand what's important to them and what isn't important to them. Get out into the business. If there's a warehouse, spend time in the warehouse. Don't be the fancy HR person who doesn't go in the warehouse because I don't have safety goggles. Get some safety goggles. Get out there. Let people see you and be a real person. Relate to the people that are working there, because again, if they don't feel safe with you and trust you, you don't have opportunity to create change. And then build relationships with the managers who are leading the people. One of the things I always did, which was so meaningful for me and for the managers, was to have monthly one-on-ones with them. And it depends on how many managers you have. Sometimes that's reasonable. Sometimes you have to do it a little bit differently. Sorry, my cat wants to be a part of this conversation. But get to know them and help understand what is important to them as well. Because when they have a performance issue and they don't know what to do, or they have someone who's going through a hard time, or God forbid they're going through a hard time themselves because they're people as well, they have someone to call and you can help them create change. So if they're saying Dave, who used to be this great employee, is late every day now, he's not gotten his projects done, and I have no idea what to do because I've asked him multiple times if he's okay and he tells me yes, we can have a really open conversation about what we need to do next, whether we move to performance management or somebody else tries to get in a conversation with him as well. But get to know your people, get to know the business, and really get in there. Do not sit in your office and run reports and make sure compliance is done and then think you've done a great job, because that's just not it.
You think about small businesses that are growing and they're wanting to grow. There comes a point, though, when they're going to need something more than just payroll and hiring help. So at what point do you believe, based on what you've seen over the years, that small business is time for them to graduate to actually have a need for a strategic HR like yourself to come inside and kind of help them be relieved from a lot of unnecessary duties?
Yeah, about 20 employees is when I start to say you should start thinking about it, because that's enough people that you really need to start thinking about how are you going to manage their time off? What policies and procedures do you have in place? How many hiring managers do you have? Because they're probably doing interviews. Do you have an onboarding program? Do you have performance management programs? Do you have an HR system? We start every engagement with an audit. So we come in and we look at everything from A to Z from a people standpoint, from the entire life cycle, budgets, executive leadership, engagement in HR from a leadership standpoint, who's doing the role now, and then give a report to help them understand compliance, operational efficiency, and strategy. So we do it in a 3-tiered way to say, like, this will get you sued, this will make your life easier, this will make your business successful. And then we start from the bottom and we just go up. And I really do think in this situation, it's a number of people trigger. A lot of times it's revenue and in a lot of other ways, but this is really a number of people trigger, because it gets to the point where, especially if you're the founder of the organization and you have 10, 15, 20 people reporting to you, it's not that you're not amazing. You're obviously amazing because your business is growing. You do not have the physical time or capacity to manage that many people and do what you need to be doing. It's time to bring in some other people.
Once again, let's not refocus. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, okay, the other thing I'll say, which is where I thought you might be going, honestly, with small business too, is many people pull in their friends. They pull in their fraternity brothers, their cousins, their sisters, their whoever, to run this business and get it up and going. And many times they'll get you here, but they won't get you there. And I've seen this over and over again with our clients, where the CEO ends up needing us to help them evaluate that person's role. And we end up doing what we call a right people, right seat evaluation, because this person might be incredibly important to the business, but they can no longer sit in this role because they've grown to the point where they can't do it anymore. They don't have the capacity or the knowledge or the experience to take it to the next level. That's really hard. It's a really, really hard part of growing your business, but it's incredibly important, because you do have to decide, do I want to continue at the level that I'm at and stay here with the people that I have, knowing that I can't grow with this staff, or is it time to move on and do some different things? And we can be really helpful with that, and how to have those conversations in a very kind, respectful, and hopefully maintain their partnership in the business way.
Once again, listen, I Refocused Radio, watching us online, talking to our guest today, Kelly Price. Go to her website, thrivehrkc.com, thrivehrkc.com. My next question is funny because we actually kind of touched on it a little bit, but it's similar, but it's going to be basically when you see the warning signs that a company's people strategy is not in alignment with the actual growth wants and needs. How do you address the falling short of those goals, and what are some of the strategies to help kind of fix it and get it back in alignment?
Yeah, we do start with that right people, right seat evaluation. We look at performance reviews. We look at what the management and leadership structure is, and help determine how people are being held accountable. I just had a client the other day tell me, we're really good at making goals, but we're really terrible at holding people accountable to them. And part of that is that they're using anecdotal information. They don't have any tools in place to help them actually measure the success of the goals. They're feeling like, yeah, you did a good job with that, high five. But there's no revenue attached to it or metrics essentially associated with it. So we want to help get those things in place. One of the things I'm really excited about with our business is we're expanding very soon with Thrive COO. So we have Thrive HR, which does the strategic HR portion of it. But with Thrive COO, we will have that partnership from an operations standpoint. And the person that's heading that up is a former engineer by trade. And I met him actually because he worked at a client, and we turned this company around and realized the power of operations with HR. And if you can put those two things together and then help execute all of the things that need to be done, it's really incredible. Because again, I can have those conversations to say, what are the metrics? What are the, how are you holding people accountable? What conversations do you have? Do you have the courage to say the things you need to say to people? Because that's an art in itself, to say, you're the problem. And I respect you and appreciate everything you've done for this organization. And please don't quit, but you're the problem. So there's a lot of different ways to be able to say that to people and have them not tell you to buzz off afterwards. But the COO partnership is going to be really effective in going in and trying to build better metrics programs, build better tools within the organization, especially if you're in manufacturing or you're producing something. There's a lot of great ways out there that you can improve efficiency and productivity through systematizing and automating things. We use AI on a regular basis as well. That's something we've really been expanding into. And so many of our small business clients, they're not opposed to it. They just don't know where to start. So, he and I both, and all the consultants that work on my team, we've all at least been in director positions, if not executive positions. And we've all worked in small and large businesses. So one of the things I think is really exciting is being able to bring to light those larger business concepts and making them something that we can scale for small business. Because you think about employee engagement as an example. Employee engagement, a lot of people think like, oh, you're going to do this huge program or leadership development. That's going to cost me tens of thousands of dollars. Well, it really doesn't have to. Let's just start with, let's say you have 5 managers in your business and they each have 4 employees. The first thing I would do is say, do your employees and your managers do one-on-ones? No, they don't. Let's start doing those. Do your managers know how to do one-on-ones? Well, sort of. Well, let's do some training around one-on-ones. Let's build a structure for that. And then they just go and do them. And then do you do quarterly conversations based on where they want their career to go? Well, no. Well, let's start doing that. That's not some, $50,000 leadership training program. It's just giving people the tools to be able to have those conversations and give them some coaching on what to say and how to deal with things that come up. So it's a ton of fun, and it really makes such a big difference in the success of the business, because ultimately we have to have an ROI, but the people in the organization start to care and they start to be excited about what they're doing and they start to respect each other more. And then it becomes more fun to work there, it's important.
And speaking of fun, one thing that's not fun is when there's a financial risk, when the right HR foundation is absent. So kind of touch on that for the viewers. Why is it so important to have the right HR foundation in the first place?
Yeah, with the world that we're in right now, there's a couple of areas. One, unfortunately, people are litigious. They can choose to sue you for anything. And I've seen several scenarios where the person suing you, they don't have a valid case. I'm 100% positive that the company didn't do the things that they're being sued for, mostly because I was there and I saw it all go down. So I know exactly what happened. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to spend money on attorneys, going to court, mediation. Your HR person is spending time gathering documents instead of doing the things they're supposed to be doing. You have to bring in a consultant, blah, 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 all these other things. So that's number one. Knowing what to do to protect yourself just from a people management standpoint is incredibly important. 2, the laws are changing fast, and new laws and policies are popping up constantly. For example, Kansas City, Missouri has different laws than the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri. And I say that because it's in both states. New York City has different laws than the state of New York. Seattle has different laws than the state of Washington. If you don't know those things, you can't follow them. There's paid leave laws. There's maternity leave laws. There's when you get paid upon separation. There's minimum wage. Like I could go on and on and on and on. Non-disclosure agreements, separation agreements, non-competes. That's been a really big one the last couple of years. Those most of the time now aren't even worth the paper that they're written on. So understanding all of that and building that foundation so you just don't have to worry about it. Like I'm going back to what I was saying before, understanding what's important to those executives. When you're in an HR role, and they hire you to do these things, they expect them to be done because that's what your job is. So one of the biggest mistakes that a small business or any business can do is plopping someone in HR who knows absolutely nothing about HR because they think all it is pushing a button to process payroll and doing open enrollment. There's a tremendous amount of financial risk associated with having the wrong person there. Granted, you have to get sued, or you have to get audited for that financial risk to occur, but no one is immune to that. They walk in, the government walks in everywhere now, and people sue you for silly little things. And sometimes they're very valid things because you've not done them appropriately. So taking that seriously is really important because your business can get sidelined and cash strapped by something that you didn't even know you were supposed to be doing. And it has nothing to do with your business.
And that's the surprise birthday party that we don't want to attend for the most part.
That's right. That's right. No, thank you. No, thank you.
Once again, listen, I Am Refocused Radio and watching us online. I can believe time has already passed, but we are still talking to our guest, Kelly Price. I have one more question I want to give to you real quick, but before I do that, go to thrivehrkc.com, thrivehrkc.com. My last question is, when we think about culture, I mean, that's something that is loosely said, and every media platform is always culture. What's going on with this? And, you know, everyone has their opinion. You just pick one like a buffet line and go with it. But how do you actually intentionally design, from a business perspective in HR, a culture instead of just letting one happen on default?
Oh my goodness. Yes, that is nail on the head there. Because people say, oh, our culture is flexibility and trust and we have so much fun here. And then you talk to the employees and they're like, yeah, is that why the CEO is standing there watching me walk out the door at 3:45 and asking me where I'm going? And I have to explain that I have a doctor's appointment. Real story, by the way. No, you have to talk to the people. First of all, the leadership has to really understand, again, what is important to them. That goes back to HR understanding and the leadership. Every person in management needs to understand what is important to this organization. What do we do? What do we stand for? And what's important to that leadership that they're going to enact, not just say. So if you can get an idea of that, then you can pull the thread all the way through the organization. But then you also have to actually talk to the employees. What are they experiencing? Because there's a big difference between your desired culture and your actual culture if you're not pulling the thread all the way through. So really, again, going back to onboarding, I think that the most important thing you can do for your organization from an employee standpoint is get a good onboarding program, a thorough onboarding program that people understand what they're supposed to do, how they're supposed to do it, and what your company stands for and how they make money. If you can do that, you will see change. But that's how you set the foundation for your culture, how you talk about your organization, how you set them up for success, and then everything you do afterwards is your culture, whether or not you realize it or not.
Yeah. And not to throw my 2 cents in the hat, but I'll just say, I think that in life in general, I've been using this metaphor because, you know, I personally love my car. But one thing as a car owner, it doesn't matter the car you drive. It matters, do you keep up with the maintenance? Do you keep up with the small details that prevents you from having a big ticket surprise? Like, hello, you neglected this, and this, and now it turned into a hot mess and you have no choice now to address this issue with a bigger bill versus if you just had those regular maintenance schedules throughout time. Yes. You would save a whole lot of money versus you just like, oh, it has 4 wheels and steering wheel and brakes kind of not that bad. They probably halfway gone. But you know, what is the problem of neglecting those small duties, whether you're CEO or frontline, because a lot of times we spend too much time trying to point fingers at which one is causing the issue.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's going to bite you. It will. It's going to come up, and it's going to come up in the most inconvenient time possible. And even if you have to stop for a minute and go back and build the foundation, which is what I do with pretty much every single one of my clients. No one calls me and says, I'm thinking about starting a business. What do I do? It's, oh crap, I have 50 people and I have no HR system. I don't have any systems in place, any policies or procedures in place. And I've got some managers that aren't doing great and help. So that's when you got to call in someone else and say, come in and do this while we're still operating the business. That's really, really important. But once you get that foundation built and maintain it and put systems in place that give you these regular touch points to be able to go back and reflect, then you get to go focus on the fun stuff, which is doing whatever you created your business to do. When you told that story, it made me think about this video that I saw on Instagram the other day, and it was such a mic drop moment. This woman said, can you believe how many people worry about what they look like, but they don't worry about what comes out of their mouth?
That's good.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, oh, damn, that's it right there. And I feel like that's leadership. That's 100% leadership. No one cares if you come in looking fabulous every day if you're just mean and grouchy and don't treat people with kindness and respect. And especially when those people have to work for you. Attitude reflects leadership, right? I always quote Remember the Titans because it's such a true statement. Be the person that you want to report to, and you'll be a good leader.
That was a mic drop in itself. Once again, listening to Refocused Radio and watching us online, talking to our guest today, Kelly Price. She is the founder of Thrive HR and a leader whose entire career has been built, like I said in the intro, around one mission, helping people and businesses thrive together. You can find out everything of her organization, what they're doing at thrivehrkc.com. That's thrivehrkc.com. And I believe you said in the interview that you have other business opportunity that's happening as well. If you can, before we sign off, what is that again as a reminder for those watching and listening, and how you want those to keep in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, we start every engagement with an audit so we can give you a state of the union. I cannot tell you what you need to do if I don't understand your business. So please allow us to do that audit first. And I think it'll be a great learning opportunity for everyone involved. Second, then we come in and help you align your people and your business strategies, build that foundation. And we have a COO partner now. So Thrive COO is going to go live in the next couple of months. And that person is a highly experienced, truly fabulous individual who can come in and get your operational practices and functions fully aligned with your financial strategies and goals, as well as your HR strategies. So we can build the foundation. This group will help pull it through and then ultimately make your business more financially successful. So we're excited to help businesses be more whole-rounded, well-rounded, and wholly successfl.
Well, we are definitely flat out of time, but been a very enlightening episode. I appreciate Kelly for being on the show today. Like I always want to say to you, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.